Hello, today I'll be presenting my PowerPoint about the Bill Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000 by Rosa Lazalde, Class 2363, Introduction to Social Welfare Policy. Human trafficking. The definition of human trafficking is human trafficking, often known as trafficking in humans, is a felony that involves forcing or pressuring a person to do work or service or engage in commercial sex activities. Threats may be covert or evident, or it can be physiological. Whether or not there was any use of pressure, deception, or force, exploiting a minor for commercial sex is still considered human trafficking. Who? Anyone can become a victim of human trafficking, regardless of their race, color, national origin, disability, religion, age, or gender. The location of human trafficking. The location can it can be legal or illegal labor industries. Victims can be found working in childcare, elder care, the drug trade, massage parlors, nail salons, hair salons, restaurants, hotels, factories, and farms. Victims of domestic labor may occasionally be kept in a house hidden behind closed doors. Some are obligated to work in dangerous environments like factories, restaurants, or exotic dance clubs, while others are in the open, regularly interact with people. Existing laws failed to protect victims because victims were often illegal immigrants. The bill was introduced on November 8, 1999. The bill was dismissed or discharged by the Committee on Banking and Financial Services on April 14, 2000. On October 28, 2000, the bill became law. Public Law Number 106-386. It was sponsored by Representative Christopher H. Smith. Title: Human Trafficking Bill, Sexual Trafficking Victims Protection Bill, Violence Against Women Act, and Authorization Bill. All preceding legislation. In November 8, 1999, it was introduced to the House. It has three separate divisions of Act. Division A, Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000. Division B, Violence Act, Women Act of 2000. Division C, Miscellaneous Provision in Law, became law on October 28, 2000. How many people in Houston, Texas, and U.S. are affected by the problem? The state of Texas alone has around 330,000 victims of human trafficking. More than 234,000 people, mostly young people, are victims of labor trafficking, and more than 79,000 are young people. In the United States, every year between 15,000 and 50,000 women and children are subject to sexual slavery. How has the problem changed over time? The businesses of human trafficking exist. It provides sex workers to prostitute demand, source as well in inexpensive labor to markets where it can be exploited. Around the world, 25 million individuals were reportedly exploited in 2016 for forced labor, including the sex industry. During a pandemic, human trafficking continues. During the pandemic, more people became vulnerable to trafficking. Numbers continue to grow. Why a policy solution is necessary to address the problem? The policy solution is necessary because it prohibits forced labor, slavery, sex trafficking. It helps victims for federal witness protection programs. There's also consequences for those who break the law. Manifest and latent goals. Manifest. The Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000 was the first comprehensive federal law to provide for the protection of trafficking victims and the persecution of trafficking within the United States. This law aims to combat trafficking into and within the United States of America through the prevention of trafficking through public awareness, the protection of victims through the provision of variety of support, and the persecution of traffickers by establishing trafficking as federal crime with several penalties. Layden established these laws to see the many victims of trafficking and violence. Policy benefits and/or program services. The law provides a three-pronged approach that includes prevention, protection, and prosecution. Refuge, cash, and medical assistance. The matching grant program, the public housing program, and the job corps. Non-government organizations (NGO) are very knowledgeable and helpful in using community resources to assist victims with food, shelter, clothing, and goods. Also, medical, legal, job training, transportation, and education. The National Human Trafficking Resources Center is a national toll-free hotline for the human trafficking field in the United States, providing callers with a range of comprehensive service, including crisis interventions, urgent and non-urgent referrals, tips reporting, and comprehensive anti-trafficking resources and technical assistance for the anti-trafficking field and those who wish to get involved. The T visa is a non-immigrant visa that allows foreign victims of human trafficking to remain in the United States for up for up to 4 years. How benefits and/or services are to be implemented. Victims need a certificate letter or a derivative letter. The victims do not need to provide any immigration documents. For federal benefits must meet qualifications such as age, family composition, residence, and limitations of income and resources. Programs like the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, Medicaid, Centers of Medicare and Medical Services, CHIP, Health Resources and Service Administration. Policy financing. Every agency withholds a portion amount of money from their employees for the basic benefits and Social Security. Nonprofit founders and employers are paid for the gross revenues of their organization. People who are willing to offer their free service to nonprofit organizations. Also, The industry of human trafficking is extremely wealthy. Compared to drugs or guns, it makes more money. Drugs and guns can be sold once, while humans can be sold often, and demand is always constant. Division B, Violence Against Act of 2000. The Violence Against Women's Act, VAWA, is a federal law that, in part, provides housing protection for people applying for or living in units subsidized by the federal government and who have experienced domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking to help keep them safe and reduce the likelihood of experiencing homelessness. Division V, Violence Against Act of 2000. Who is covered? AWA's housing protection is in part are available to someone who has previously or is currently experiencing domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, or stalking. This is the final page of the PowerPoint, which is the reference of all the information from the websites where I gather all the information for this final PowerPoint. I hope you learned something new today. Thank you.